When you think about San Diego, you think about beautiful beaches, modern luxury estates, and even some epic oceanfront properties. But beneath the surface, this city also harbors neighborhoods steeped in legacy, history, and a ton of generational wealth. In this video, I'm going to uncover the real story behind San Diego's old money, 5 iconic neighborhoods that have quietly shaped the identity of this city's elite for generations. And these aren't places that try to be flashy because, well, they don't have to. They've stood the test of time through tradition, influence, and timeless architecture. My name is Nick, a top real estate professional here in San Diego that's helped countless people from every walk of life relocate right here with confidence by not just showing you the homes, but showing you the lifestyle, the neighborhoods, and a lot of the trade-offs that most people miss. And today I'm going to pull back the curtains on some of the most prestigious neighborhoods here in San Diego. So let's dive in, starting with the coastal crown jewel of San Diego, known as La Jolla. So if you're not too familiar with La Jolla, well, it's kind of a big deal, and it has been for well over 100 years now. And it actually started as a small seaside resort way back in the late 1800s. And it was actually a place that a lot of celebrities from Hollywood or LA would actually come down and vacation. And it really just never stopped growing into one of San Diego's most iconic luxury areas. Not to mention some very big philanthropists are well known over here. You're gonna hear a name get tossed around pretty often by the name of Ellen Browning Scripps. And she basically shaped about half of the institutions here. Everything from Scripps Hospital to Scripps Oceanography, the list literally just goes on and on. And people call this place the crown jewel of San Diego. And it's a very, very special place. And once you start driving around, or you visit, or you just go to a coffee shop in downtown La Jolla, or even if you just start driving around the residential neighborhoods, you're gonna notice really quick, it is very special. You're getting estates that are perched on cliffs with some of the best Pacific views in not just San Diego, but the entire state of California. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Just drive around some of these neighborhoods, go to La Jolla Farms. I mean, you can't even get in this neighborhood unless you have at least $8 million on the very, very low, but you have some beautiful homes over there right next to UCSD and Blacks Beach. And there's really special neighborhoods with walkability. Maybe you want to walk to a bakery or a coffee shop or a yoga or Pilates class. Bird Rock is going to check all of that. Very charming and has this big overall surf vibe. Miele is another place where you have wider streets, you have huge lots, and you have some epic views. And I feel like every home up there has different exposures. Some are looking dead west, others are looking south, others are looking up the whole north coastline. And there's neighborhoods like Hidden Valley where you literally feel like you're in the Hollywood Hills with just every single house looking completely different. It's tucked away, it's private, it's more low-key. And I think one of the biggest things that people love about La Jolla, especially the wealthy, is that every home looks completely different. You have a mix of old Spanish style homes, you're gonna have mid-century gems, and newer modern builds that are literally $10 million plus that still feel timeless. And when it comes to living here, I think there's a lot of things people love, especially being minutes away from a ton of things to do. You can go down to the La Jolla Playhouse, you can have your sunset walks at the Windansea Beach, you can go have a really epic beach day at La Jolla Shores. You have the Comedy Store, which is a great time if you just want to go have some laughs and see a very probably famous comedian. And the shopping here in the Village, it's definitely not cheap, but it's definitely some really solid options, especially when it comes to food. Whether you want some sunset dining or something a little bit more low-key, you're gonna have so many options. And I definitely will say La Jolla is known to be a little bougie, but it is definitely super grounded. It's the type of area where you're more likely to see a vintage Range Rover than you are a flashy Lambo. Everyone just kind of stays in their own lane, and that's kind of just part of the charm over here. Now, let's talk a little bit about La Jolla homes and the real estate market, because the median home price here right now is right at about $2.4 million, with the average home selling in about 34 days. That's one of the lowest that we're going to talk about on this entire list. And if you ask me, frankly, I think 34 days is very, very quick, especially when the average home is $2.5 million. And the thing is, homes go way, way over that price. I feel like you can't find a single family home in La Jolla unless you have around $2.8 million, and it's likely to still need a good amount of work. And especially if there's a view involved, and I tell all my clients this, if you are looking for an area or a home that just has epic views, La Jolla is a must and needs to be on your radar. And something I've noticed about people that live here is these are usually people who want long-term. They're not looking for trendy. It's folks who really appreciate things like walkability. They want culture. They want really good ocean access and privacy. And a lot of the families here literally own for decades. And that's one of the biggest reasons on why La Jolla is considered old money. a lot of these homes are passed down generationally. There's not a lot of turnover here, so it's not uncommon to really see families own here for 30 to 50 plus years. And you'll see that on a lot of listing descriptions. You'll say first time to the market in 40 years. There's a lot of that tradition here, and a lot of the times the parents pass and the kids get the house, and half the time they don't even sell it. Another area with some old money roots is going to be Coronado. This is the island of elegance and generational estates. Coronado has been a huge destination ever since the Hotel del Coronado opened back in 1888, and it was literally built as a luxury resort town, and it's never really lost that identity. Presidents have stayed there, you have movie stars that vacation here, and now it's home to one of the most desirable zip codes in San Diego County. And just a heads up, I want to make it very clear that it is technically a peninsula, although a lot of locals and people call it an island, and it kind of does feel like an island. Once you drive over the Coronado Bridge, it literally feels like a completely different world, and there's so many things that make this place special. You've got a super cute and quaint walkable downtown area. You have some very picturesque white sandy beaches that are consistently ranked some of the best in the US, and you're gonna have some of the most picturesque neighborhoods in all of Southern California. You have neighborhoods like The Village. This is where you're gonna find charming craftsman homes. You have historic mansions and literally walk to anywhere convenience. You're gonna have The Shores, which offers some very low maintenance, high rise beachfront living. I'm talking just views for days at the Pacific Ocean. You're gonna have the Country Club Estates. Maybe you're a golfer where you have larger homes, golf course access, and a lot more privacy. And you have one of my personal favorites, which is gonna be the Cays, because let's be real, where the heck in San Diego can you find a boat slip literally in your backyard? I mean, that is true waterfront luxury living at its finest. And Coronado has a different vibe. It's very polished, but in my opinion, it's not pretentious. You have the Naval Air Station there, so there's a big Navy presence, and it's not unusual to see an active duty military living down the street from someone who literally might have just sold their company for $100 million. And when it comes to living here, you can literally walk or bike anywhere. The beach, coffee, golf, you can hop on the ferry and go to downtown San Diego. You've got some really epic 4th of July parades. You have things like concerts in the park and boat parades in the Cays. Not to mention, if you like golfing, go check out the Coronado Municipal Golf Course. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can play there on some days for 50 bucks, and the views are just next level. You just get this really good small town feel while only being literally 10 minutes from the San Diego airport in downtown San Diego. And when it comes to the homes and the real estate market, well, the median home value right now is right at about $2.6 million. Depending on the neighborhood down here, you're gonna have historic homes with lots near the beach, which go way higher. I'm talking 4 million, 6 million, sometimes $10 million plus. The average home in Coronado takes about 60 days to actually sell, which still, in my opinion, to find a buyer for a $10 million house in 60 days, that's pretty darn good if you ask me. And there was a recent home known as 3 The Point that literally just went up for auction. I think they were asking like $37.5 million, and it actually just sold for somewhere in the $20 million price range. So that's a huge sale for Coronado right there, and that home was absolutely epic. And Coronado is kind of for every walk of life. You'll see a lot of families there who want safe, community-focused living with access to top schools. You're gonna have a lot of retirees that are looking for things like walkability, just natural beauty and lifestyle without giving up a ton of luxury. And especially with people that love to be on the water, or they love boats, they have a yacht, maybe they have a sailboat, because let's face it, where else in San Diego are you gonna be able to dock your 30-footer or your 60-footer directly in your backyard? By the way, if you're watching this and you're literally thinking about making a move to San Diego, especially one of these high-end or legacy neighborhoods, let's connect. We've helped people from all over the place, the Bay Area, Los Angeles, parts of the East Coast. And once we have a talk with you, we really figure out what's gonna be best for you and usually open up some recommendations that you've never really put on your map. So that's what it's all about. So you can scan this QR code right here. You can book a time to talk to me directly, and we can really figure out the best plan for you moving forward. The next old money area is going to be known for some very quiet wealth and some country club prestige, which is going to be known as Rancho Santa Fe. And I'm going to say that again, Rancho Santa Fe is not just wealthy, it's very quietly wealthy. This old ranch land was subdivided back in the early 1900s, and it was always meant to be elite. Even all of those very pretty eucalyptus trees that you see lining the roads when you're driving around were actually planted next to the railroad. And then the whole plan just kind of pivoted and they turned it into this big residential enclave. And fast forward 100 years later, and now Rancho Santa Fe is easily one of the wealthiest zip codes in the entire country. And it's not flashy by any means. It's not an area you drive around and you see billboards or you see strip malls. It's literally things like horses, you have hedges, and 10,000 square foot estates that are tucked behind the gates. And there is so many things that make Rancho Santa Fe just so unique and so special. I mean, there's nowhere else in Southern California where you can literally buy a multi-acre estate, you can have horses, and you can still be 15 minutes from the beach. You have quite a few different private golf and tennis clubs, whether you want to go meet people, you want to play pickleball or play around a golf. You have quite a few, like in the farms, you're going to have the Rancho Santa Fe Golf Club, and the bridges just offer some next level exclusivity. And owning in there actually gives you private access to the Rancho Santa Fe Golf Club. So you actually have to own in the covenant to be able to be a part of that club. You have the bridges, which is a 24-hour gate guarded golf course community with very Tuscan inspired estates and a very luxury clubhouse. You have the farms, which is a little bit more quiet, ultra private, with large view lots of the private course. And you have other communities like Fairbanks Ranch and Cielo, which each has its own gates, its vibe, and its own special elevation, especially when it comes to the style of homes. You have such a wide assortment of people that live in Rancho Santa Fe, everybody from founders to CEOs to hedge fund types, celebrities, pro athletes, tech folks. These are all people who want space and privacy. And when it does come to the homes and the real estate market here, the median home price is right at about $4.2 million, with the average home sitting on the market for about 80 days before it finds a buyer. But I'd say the entry point, if you want to buy something and live in Rancho Santa Fe, you got to have about $2.5 million on the low end. That's probably going to be a fixer. But if you want to get to that sweet spot and you want something that's updated, turnkey, you have land and it's beautiful, right from about $4 million to $7 million is where you're going to have some really awesome options. And for my ultra luxury buyers out there, once you get to that $8 million, $10 million price point and above, you will have some epic inventory out there. I'm talking homes that are just jaw-dropping, 8,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet with views, guest house, pickleball, tennis ball court, pool, everything you could ever need is gonna be right there in Rancho Santa Fe. And people love Rancho Santa Fe for quite a few different reasons. And I think the biggest one is you are removed, but you're not remote. You have Del Mar beaches, you have Encinitas restaurants, and top private schools that are all 10 to 20 minutes away. Plus, it's just very quiet and very relaxing. There's no commercial noise, there's little to no traffic, and there's really just very mature tree-lined streets with open skies and total privacy. And honestly, it feels a lot more like Napa or Montecito than it does even just being in San Diego. The next old money neighborhood, we're gonna head back over to the coast and land in Del Mar, because this is where San Diego's coastal old money meets timeless elegance. And it was founded back in 1888, and it was once again another seaside escape for the rich and the famous. And here we are today, and it's now known as one of the most exclusive beach towns in all of Southern California, where you see the pride of ownership. Locals are very protective over the natural beauty here, everything from the beaches to the canyons, the small town charm. It's a place where you're not going to see any high-rise condos. You're going to see just bluff top estates. You're going to see beach cottages and a ton of beautiful custom coastal homes. And it's probably one of my favorite walkable downtown villages in San Diego County. Once you cruise around and you see what it's all about, it has this real charm to it. You have some very upscale dining, you have boutique shopping, and a ton of beach access just all in one. And it's home to the famous Where the Turf Meets the Surf, the historic Del Mar racetrack that was actually built by Bing Crosby back in the 1930s, where you now have not one racetrack season, but you now have two, and you also have the San Diego County Fair, which when I was growing up, it was called the Del Mar County Fair. So expect it to get a little rowdy in the summer months, especially when the racetrack season is going on. The coastal views from the homes here are just completely unmatched. They're just jaw-dropping, everything from bluffs to oceans to sunsets, literally all in one frame. And while it is a smaller town, you still do have quite a few different neighborhoods. You have ones like like Old Del Mar, where you're gonna have quiet, tree-lined streets with larger lots, and some of the most iconic estates in North County. You have Del Mar Village, which is pretty much just the heart of it all. You have walkable homes near shops, the beach, and restaurants. Very high premiums here. You also have Del Mar Heights, which is gonna be a little bit more budget friendly if you're looking to get in Del Mar, or you have the famous Beach Colony. These are homes directly on the sand or even one row back, and these very rarely trade hands, and these command some insane luxury prices. You can find some better priced or more affordable homes up in the Del Mar Heights area, where more entry level, around $2.5 million. I would say the sweet spot in Del Mar is going to be right around that $4 million to $6 million price point for something updated with views or beach access. And this is another area where that old money is still very well and alive. I mean, a lot of these homes are very generational. Families own these for 20, 30, 40 years, and they really just don't come on the market very often. So it's a place you have to be extremely patient. A lot of the residents are CEOs or they're tech founders, maybe philanthropists, and of course, racehorse owners. And I would say it's a very coastal, quiet luxury area. It's probably one of the most quiet luxury areas that we're going to talk about on this entire list, and it's not flashy by any means. Now we're going to head south to Mission Hills, which is San Diego's original prestige neighborhood. And back in the early 1900s, this is where the city's elite settled. It's perched just above downtown in the harbor with sweeping views. You have tree-lined streets and some beautiful architecture. And a lot of the homes up in Mission Hills were actually built by some master architects like Irving Gill. You have Richard Requea. So you're going to find everything from craftsmen to Spanish Revival, Prairie style, and even some early mid-century gems that have honestly stood the test of time. And there's so many things to love about Mission Hills. The views have got to be the biggest. I mean, you have incredible views of the bay, downtown, Point Loma, and even the ocean from certain spots. And it's one of the most well-preserved historic residential neighborhoods in all of San Diego. I'm talking custom architecture on every block, and no two homes are even alike. And you're just minutes from literally everything you could need. Downtown, the airport, Little Italy, the beach, restaurants, cafes, boutiques, green spaces are just surrounding you. You even have some micro neighborhoods within Mission Hills. It's not a big area by any means, but you have North Mission Hills where you got larger estate homes, better bay views, and more historical architectural. You have South Mission Hills that's going to be a little bit quieter, smaller homes, I'd say a little bit more bungalow and cottage style build. And Middletown, which is going to be a little bit closer to the airport, you're going to have a mix of townhomes, older homes, and some newer builds. And when it comes to the real estate over in Mission Hills, the median home price is right at about $2 million. And I'd say the sweet spot is right at about $1.5 to $2.5 million. This is where you're going to find some updated 3, maybe 4-bedroom homes with some charm, maybe a view. And as you get to $3 million and higher, this is where you're going to find some fully restored historic homes that have some really epic views. Many of the residents in Mission Hills are either attorneys, they're doctors, they're university professors, or they're just business owners. And there's this very subtle yet tasteful pride of ownership over here. There's no Lambos or fancy cars. It's literally just more of a historic area. All the neighbors' homes are immaculate, and a lot of these neighbors have been friends for over 30 years. Now, real quick, even if you're thinking about buying in one of these areas, Del Mar, Rancho Santa Fe, La Jolla, this is not your average real estate market. Once you get into the $4, $5, $6 million price range, a huge number of these homes and sales, they never even hit the MLS. I'm talking about things like pocket listings, private networks, and sellers who literally only want to work with qualified, serious buyers, and often that's really only through trusted agents. That's why having a local expert is so important, because they actually have relationships within these neighborhoods, especially in times like this where there's not a lot of inventory. And you guys heard it, a lot of these neighborhoods that I spoke about, there's not a lot of turnover happening. So we've actually helped clients get into homes that were never even listed online. And especially if you're relocating here from another place to San Diego, it is a lot more difficult, because from the outside, it's almost impossible to know which parts of areas like La Jolla or Rancho Santa Fe are actually a fit for things like your lifestyle, your commute, or your long-term plans, because every single pocket does have its own special, unique feeling. And typically, by the time a great listing does eventually hit the market, there's usually a ton of local buyers already lined up to see it because they know what they want and they've been waiting, who knows, maybe months or even years to finally get in and have the opportunity to maybe get this house. So that's why it's so important to have boots on the ground, an expert that knows these areas, knows what's rare, knows what's gonna maybe pop up in a few months. All this stuff is so important. So if you need any help or you just need some real local guidance, you can literally scan this QR code right here. This will literally give you a time to schedule a direct line with me so we can sit down and actually have that conversation to see what's gonna work for you and just figure that all out and build a solid game plan. So feel free to reach out. All of our information is also down below as well. And I also have a video right here that I think might be helpful as well. Maybe I'll see you there.